Forecasting the weather takes preparation. So does buying a home. Hello, everyone. I'm meteorologist Chris Sowers, and welcome to Weichert Realtors in Washington Township, the power of yellow. Come join us and experience the full service advantage of our yellow team. Whether you're buying, selling, or refinancing, we've got everything you need under one roof. Real estate, title services, mortgages, and insurance. One team, one trusted name, one-stop shopping for all your real estate needs. Weichert Realtors in Washington Township, the bright choice. All right, good evening, everybody. Meteorologist Chris Sowers here. It's Wednesday, August 19th. Let's get started a little early. I'm going to hold off a couple minutes to get into the bread and butter, so to speak, here. It's 7:26. Let's hold off until about maybe at least 7:30 because that's the time I'm supposed to be starting these segments, 7:30 in the morning and then 7:30 in the evening. I got to tell you, what I would like everyone to do here is share this, okay? Right now, just share this segment that we're doing so everybody can see what's going on here, what the potential threat is tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. This thing has suddenly changed on a dime. It went from becoming a couple days ago of just an isolated threat where one or two areas may even just see a thunderstorm to now we're talking about a tremendous amount of shear, enough so that we could be dealing with tornadoes. And I'm going to show you all the science, I guess you could say, behind this, because it has become a little, I don't want to use the word alarming, all right, because that's just a word that frightens everybody. But, you know, I will say it has become a little concerning, okay, enough so that you see I'm not kind of joking around or anything right now. This is a threat that I want to make sure that I get out there to everybody, and so everyone is aware of what's going on tomorrow. Everyone stays weather aware, what's going on tomorrow. And obviously I'm going to be, this is my platform. This is what I do now. So when the weather gets crazy, whenever those warnings start, I'm going to go live. Rob Garino will go live, and we'll have you covered. I may even have Amy Freeze in here with me tomorrow too. So we're going to have you covered with every angle here, so to speak. The million-dollar question is going to be this. And again, I'm going to wait a couple minutes to get into all the graphics. But the million-dollar question is going to be this. We've got shear, okay? Or in other words, winds. Now, there's a couple of kinds of shear. One, there's directional shear. Winds coming in different directions. All right, that gets the thing going, rotating. But there's also something called speed shear. And speed shear is when everything is coming in the same direction, but maybe aloft it's coming in at the surface, it's coming in like this, but aloft it's coming in like this. It's much, much quicker as you go up with height. Okay, and that kind of produces like little eddy rotations too. So we're going to be dealing with both speed and directional shear at some point tomorrow afternoon. The million-dollar question here is going to be, do we have enough CAPE? If we end up seeing a cloudy day, which is, by the way, that's going to be the best thing in the world that we could see tomorrow. It's just a full cloudy day. I don't think that's going to happen. You can never say never. But if we end up seeing a full cloudy day, that's going to limit the amount of energy that the sun can provide. Remember, heat rises, okay? So if you've got a cloudy day, you're taking some of that energy from the sun and you're kind of reflecting it back into the atmosphere, and you're not allowing the atmosphere to reach its full potential, okay? Clouds will be what you want to see tomorrow afternoon. The more sun you see, the better chance that we have of getting some really heavy thunderstorms. Real quick, I just got a couple people online right now, and I'm gonna answer these questions as best as I can here. I see there's a lot of them already in the chat. Okay. So, people just checking in. So how was your guys' day? I hope you guys had a great day. This was a nice one, right? I had said this morning, if you went over to SowersSkywatch.com, I post video updates every single day. And I said earlier this morning that I thought this was going to end up being the pick of the week, and I don't think it disappointed. This was a great day. It feels fabulous out here right now. Other than getting bit by mosquitoes, I'm great right now. It's comfortable. There is a gentle breeze. It's only about 5-7 miles per hour, but it's enough so that it feels good out here. The humidity dropped out. We had a lot of sunshine today mixed with clouds. Jennifer saying too hot, dew point too high. Jennifer, where are you? I thought it was nice. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it wasn't nice out here. I don't know. I thought it felt good. Tell me where you are, Jennifer, and I'll let you know what your dew point was. Chef Cal Hurry says, I had a job interview this morning. Well, how did it go? How'd the job interview go? Hopefully things went well. You usually know when you have a job interview if it went good. You know, I've had job interviews where the second I got done, I was like, what the heck did I just say? You know what I mean? I'm not getting this job. And then I've had other job interviews where I was like, man, that was good. I was really, really good. And I didn't get the job anyway. So, you know, it's funny. But how did it feel? Did you feel you did a good job? Lois says, humid in Malvern and no breeze. Well, okay. I mean, dew points are still in the mid-60s right now, so I guess technically it is still...
Funny, how did it feel? Did you
feel
you did a good job?
Okay. I guess it still technically is humid, but when you compare this to the last couple of days, my gosh, this is a million times better, right? I think all of you have to agree with that. Let's see. Greg is saying, when isn't there a threat for downpours and thunderstorms? This is getting old. I hear you. But if you guys... So this is going to be the first day in a while where I don't have a guest with me, a guest speaker. Tomorrow I'm going to have probably Rob and Amy with me because of the severe threat. But, we're going to focus more on the weather here. One thing that Amy and I talked about 3 days ago, and Rob and I talked about 2 days ago, and Dave and I talked about last night, is this is something, because of the El Nino, that could just keep on going. You know, usually September and October are very quiet months here, assuming you don't get a tropical system coming up the East Coast, right? So, assuming that does not happen, usually September and October are pretty quiet months here in the Philadelphia area. It's a time to regroup. The weather starts cooling down. The humidity starts dropping. The leaves start changing colors. You know, it turns quieter. But this might end up being a year where that does not happen, and it's because of the strength of that El Nino and the way that the storm track is starting to line up. I mean, we could be talking about the possibility of severe weather right until the end of the year, quite honestly. Dave yesterday was talking about severe weather potentially in December. You know, and he's a forecaster of 45 years. And so, I mean, Rob Guarino said the same thing the other day. And so, there is that threat that I don't know if we keep seeing 2 or 3 threats every week like this, but, maybe we see a threat every week. It just keeps on running. So, we'll see. All right, I'll tell you what, let's get into it now. We've got a pretty good audience here. So what we're going to do, we're going to start out with the excessive rainfall outlook. Now, what you're looking at here, the SPC and the WPC, the Storm Prediction Center, Weather Prediction Center, they kind of do different things here. The Storm Prediction Center tracks severe weather. The Weather Prediction Center tracks flooding, in particular flash flooding, which is what you're looking at here. So both of these organizations, they're both government agencies, and what they've done here is they've kind of broken this down. They started doing this years and years and years ago, and they've done a great job because it is a little easier to follow now versus what it was, 5-10 years ago. But what they do is they break it down, levels 1, 2, 3, 4, as far as flooding is concerned. The higher you get on that scale, the worse and more widespread the flooding is projected to be. This is a level 2 out of 4, so we're right in the middle here. The green shaded area is a level 1. What the green shaded area means is isolated flash flooding is possible. Or in other words, maybe you see a little bit of poor drainage flooding here or there. Maybe it's possible you get some low-lying flooding, but it's isolated. Isolated or spotty being the key words here. So that green shaded area, that spotty area, is the far western counties. All right, Upper Montgomery County, Western Chester County, Lancaster County, the Lehigh Valley and Berks County, and the Poconos. You get up into Warren and Sussex counties in northern New Jersey. Everybody else are in a level 2. And that's where we could see an area of more concentrated flash flooding. There's a better chance of running into flash flooding in that yellow shaded area than in the green. And the yellow shaded area is the I-95 corridor from Trenton to Philadelphia down to Wilmington, all areas south and east. All of the coastal plain, New Jersey, Delaware, down through the Chesapeake Bay, the Delmarva, actually goes all the way down into Richmond, Virginia, and Raleigh, North Carolina. All right, so that's where there's a better chance of running into some flash flooding. PWATS, I know you're not 100% sure what that means, but that's kind of a way that we measure the amount of moisture that's in the air. I know dew point sounds a little more familiar to you, but PWATS is kind of like the atmospheric moisture. And right now some of these numbers are over 2, which is a lot. It's a lot. There's a lot of moisture in the air. So the potential is there that when it rains, it will pour. Now, the saving grace here to the flood threat may end up being is the storms look like they're going to be moving. They're not going to stick around and smell the roses, so to speak. So if we can get this line pushing through here at a pretty good pace, that may limit the flash flood threat. But here's the problem, right? It's a double-edged sword here, because if that does happen, usually 9 out of 10 times when this line of storms moves quicker, it's because there's more energy aloft or a steering current aloft pushing it through quicker, and sometimes that energy gets transferred down to the surface, and now you may not have much of a flash flood threat, but now you've got an enhanced wind danger threat to deal with, okay? So here's the flash flood threat. Here's a look at the, whoop, what did it do? Here's a look right here. Where did it go? Right there. That is a look at the severe weather outlook. Now, this was issued by the Storm Prediction Center, okay? So this scale, it works the same way, except what am I doing here? Stop. It works the same way, okay? You can see the scale, the lower right, but it's not 1 to 4, it's 1 to 5. So that light shade of green, what that represents is just an overall thunderstorm threat. Lehigh Valley, Poconos, northern New Jersey, maybe you get a couple thunderstorms out of this Thursday, all right, late afternoon. The dark shade of green is where isolated or spotty severe weather is possible. And this includes Trenton, it includes Princeton, going west into Doylestown and Pottstown and Boyertown and Lansdale and Phoenixville and Norristown, further west into Chester County, Reading, out there into portions of York County, right down 83, heading into Baltimore, okay? Now, once you get into Philadelphia, let's say in a line from Philly Northeast eastward to Toms River, from that point south, you're in a level 2. A level 2 isn't isolated. A level 2 is more widespread, or in other words, just like the level 2 in the flash flood threat, the level 2 here for the severe weather threat is where we're expecting a little more concentrated area of severe weather to develop, okay? So that's right in the heart of the Philadelphia area. That's Philadelphia. That's Cherry Hill. That's Vineland. That's Millville. That's Cape May. That's Atlantic City. That's Glassboro. That's Hamilton. That's Chemung, Salem, Pennsville, Penns Grove, Paulsboro, Belmar, Haddonfield. I mean, you name it. Those areas there, Gloucester, Camden, Salem, Cumberland, Cape May, Atlantic, and Burlington counties, as well as a large chunk of Ocean County. All of Delaware. All right, you're in an elevated risk right now to see severe weather as we head into tomorrow afternoon. All right, there's your tornado threat. So you can see it's Philadelphia, it's Trenton, it's Wilmington, it's Millville, it's Cape May, it's Atlantic City, it's Dover, it's Georgetown, it's Baltimore, it's D.C., it's west to include all of Delco and Chester County and Lancaster. The bullseye for the tornado threat is right there, right over the city of Philadelphia. Notice you go a little bit farther to the north, up the northeast extension, and there is no threat for tornadoes in the Lehigh Valley. And there is no threat for tornadoes in New York City. And there is no threat in Ocean City, Maryland. D.C. is just on the edge of this thing. It's a very small area, but it just so happens to be this area is where the shear is expected to be greatest, okay? So let's go over to the forecast guidance. I'm going to set it in motion. We're going to start around 11 o'clock in the morning. And right now, the first part of the day looks good. What I would advise is if you have outdoor plans or you're looking to do something outdoors, the first part of the day will be your best opportunity to do it. Best opportunity to get it done. Once we get past maybe noon, 1 o'clock or so, that's when things are going to start turning dicey from west to east across the viewing area. Everything fires up west of the city first, and then that pushes east as the afternoon and evening wears on. All right, so this is 11 o'clock in the morning. There's 12. There's 1. Good shape. Nothing going on. There's 2. Starting to see some stuff flare up west of Philadelphia. There's 3. Now you got some good storms. Here's 4. All right, evening commute well underway. Here come the storms. There's 5. Now, I want you to look at this thing down here to the southwest, all right? Lower left-hand part of your screen. Watch this thing. This is going to just explode. Right now, it's by 5 o'clock, it's over Baltimore and D.C., or at least that's the way the HRRR, one of the CAMS models, the convection-allowing models, the high-resolution stuff, is projecting it. All right, that's the way this model sees it at the moment. This is 5 o'clock. There's 6. There's 7. So you can see the problem here. Remember, we talk about Boeing segments quite a bit, okay? And what the Boeing segment does is, I mean, think of an archer, right? You're pulling back the bow. Here's the bow right here. The reason why the return on the radar looks like that is because the winds are so strong at the apex of that bow, okay, that it's actually, the winds are actually pushing that part of the line out ahead of everything else. That's how intense the winds are in that bow. You see it right there? If you look right smack dab in the middle of the screen, and then you see that little purple bullseye right in the middle, go a little bit down from there. You see the bow, okay? Right there at the apex is usually where you get the worst of the winds. So in this case, given the shear that I'm looking at right now, I would not doubt for 1 second, assuming this pans out, that you would see winds up to 70 miles per hour in that bow. Not tornado winds, just regular straight line winds of 70 in that bow. Okay? Now, whether or not that bow is there, farther to the south, maybe a little bit farther to the north, that still remains to be seen. All right? We're going to have future updates here over the next 12 hours or so. This model updates every hour, actually. And so we'll see. Tomorrow morning, when I do this again at 7:30 in the morning, we'll see what the new data is showing. But right now, somebody in this area, all right, somebody in South Jersey or the part of the southeastern Pennsylvania suburbs, or the Chesapeake Bay area, somebody has a chance of running into some really wicked weather tomorrow, okay? So there's a look at, that is 7 o'clock in the evening. Let's progress along. 8 o'clock in the evening, boom, now the shore's getting blasted. See that? Atlantic City's getting hit. Sea Isle City, Avalon getting hit. Stone Harbor, Cape May, the Wildwoods. Everybody getting hammered at that point. Here's 9. Here's 10. Here's 11. And there's midnight. All right, now when we flip it over to rainfall totals, here's a look at what the model's suggesting. Overall, it looks like a general, let's say let's not try to get too cute with it. Let's just say 1 to 2 inches overall, okay? I believe that's what the National Weather Service put too. So let's just say 1 to 2. But notice the little bullseyes popping here or there. You can see one up there to the upper right-hand part of your screen. That's the New York City metro area. That's 3, 4, 5 inches. You can see another one right over Philly Northeast. All right, that's 3 inches. The darker shade just east of there in Ben Salem is 4, 4.5. All right, and then there's also another little bullseye right there around the Haddonfield area in Cherry Hill. And then if you go farther to the south around Dover, there's another bullseye, followed by another one around Georgetown, Delaware. So, you know, what the model's trying to do is it's saying, okay, look, there's going to be a broken line of thunderstorms pushing through. Everybody will likely see some kind of weather out of it, whether or not it's a thunderstorm or a severe storm. But a couple of these could be big, big wind producers, and they could be big, big rain makers. All right? So don't I'm showing you the data. Don't try and look at the data and say, oh, okay, well, it shows my neighborhood only getting a ½ inch. I'm fine. No. Don't do it like that. Just the idea. Think of the general idea here. 1 to 2, isolated heavier amounts to 3 to 5. It's impossible to kind of tell where the heaviest is going to fall right now. So I would gear up for 1 to 2, isolated heavier amounts to 3 to 5. And if you live in an area that typically floods during a heavy rain event, you want to stay weather aware tomorrow. All right? Make sure you have multiple ways of getting your warnings. If you live in a poor drainage area, if you live in a low-lying area, if you live near a smaller creek or stream, you want to pay close attention to the forecasts tomorrow. Right? I'm not saying you're going to get flooding, but there's the chance. So you want to pay close attention. All right. What I'm going to show you here is a look at the shear, and this is what's got me a little concerned. This was not being shown yesterday or this morning for that matter, or the day before. All of a sudden, this showed up with the afternoon updates, all right? So what you're looking at here is called the significant tornado parameter. It's from 0 to 6 kilometers up. It's the shear within that range, okay? Let me see how high up is 6 kilometers. How high up is 6 km? I'm not even sure, actually, so let's see what it says. 6 kilometers is approximately 3.73 miles straight up. So it's basically from the surface to 19,685 feet up. All right, so that's the layer of air that we're talking about here, okay? Typically, the commercial jet cruising altitude is 9 to 12 kilometers, about 30 to 35 or even 40,000 feet, depending on the time of the year and the position of the jet stream. So we're not that high, but, you know, we're about 10,000 feet short of that, so at the highest point. So the scale goes from 0, look towards the bottom, the scale goes from 0 to 10. Now, when I lived out in the Bowling Green area, I was chief meteorologist in Bowling Green for almost 3 years out there. I was on the edge of Tornado Alley. We used to see ridiculous, significant tornado parameter numbers out there. We would get 5s and 6s and 7s all the time. All right, honestly, if we had a week where we didn't see that, we were surprised. But the parameters, it's a little, the setup is different here. You don't need those kind of numbers to get tornadoes here in the Philadelphia area. I'll be honest, usually you only need maybe a 1 out of that 1 to 10, or maybe a 1.5, or 2 at most. Watch these numbers, all right? With that being said, I want you to watch these numbers, all right? So here's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. There's 2, there's 3, there's 4, there's 5. You see that purple? That purple is a 6 on a scale of 1 to 10. Remember, you only need about a 1, 1.5, or 2 max to get the tornadoes here. That's showing 6. Okay? There's another 6. Look at the bullseyes. That one right there that's right up and down the I-95 corridor. That's 6 o'clock in the afternoon. There's 7, and there's 8. Okay? So, that's a lot. Now, again, why I said this is not a slam dunk. There is a way out, okay? Here's the way out. Remember we were talking about the cloud cover. What you're now looking at is called CAPE. Convective Available Potential Energy. Or in other words, all the energy that's available in the atmosphere. Usually this time of the year, you only need about maybe 6, 7, 800 to get severe weather. Okay, that's it. That's not a lot. So, but you'll notice here, these CAPE values, you see this? All right, we do have pockets. We do have pockets that are high. But look at all the 4, 5, 6, 7, 800s up there to the north. Okay, so if for whatever reason, tomorrow morning, we show you the updates here, and this thing has shifted about 50 miles to the south, then it's going to take all that red that you see there and push that about 50 to 75 miles to the south too. And if that were the case, that dramatically lowers the CAPE values. You see the sharp cutoff to the north? I guess that's what I'm trying to say. If this thing shifts even 50 or 60 miles to the south, then the worst of this is going to be to the south too, because there's just not going to be that energy to draw into. If you leave everything as is right now, then you've got a pretty good potential to run into some violent weather tomorrow. Okay? So that's it. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. That's the way out. If you wake up tomorrow, you're probably going to see sun, all right? But if the clouds roll in quick and you happen to stay mostly cloudy, all right? You don't even need full clouds, but mostly cloudy through, I don't know, maybe around 11 o'clock or midday, the clouds rolling in, and they stay that way. And, maybe you just have peaks of sun through the early afternoon as opposed to full sun, then we got a shot of avoiding all of this, all right? If you get a day of full sun, all right, from start to finish, we might end up being pretty busy here with the radar tomorrow afternoon, late afternoon and evening. All right, let me try and answer a couple of questions here because I see there's a ton, and I want to make sure that I get back to everybody. It's going to be difficult because I don't have anybody with me here to help me with those comments. So I'll try and answer everybody's as best as I can. And answer a couple of questions here because. All right, so we got, let's see, Honeybrook in the house. That's Melissa. Pat Myers is saying good evening. South Jersey is in the house. That's Pat. Deborah's watching. Do we have any questions? I'm going to try and answer these. I do not see any. Let's see over here. Mark Nicholson, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Mary says, hold on. It looks like it's going to be a bumpy day tomorrow. Here we go again. Yeah, what I like to say in situations like this is just kind of prepare for the worst and, hopefully, we get the best. Pray, or how's the saying go? Prepare for the worst, pray for the best, right? That's how it goes. So that's what we used to say. I mean, that's how I've said this forever, it feels like. And this has been one of those summers where it just doesn't end. I mean, it just doesn't end. And like I was saying earlier, there's the possibility that this just keeps on. I'm going to keep this up here because that right there is the tornado threat. And you can see how small. That's what I was saying. There is a way out of this, all right? It's a tiny, think about the size of the United States. It is a tiny little area here. I mean, it's really small. So if this system were to shift one way or the other, not much. I mean, we're talking maybe 60, 70 miles, which is not a lot in the weather world. And then all of a sudden, you're talking about a potentially much nicer day. I guess that's the easiest way to say it. Linda says, I'm getting pretty good at what you're saying here. Easily explained, very easily. Thank you. I appreciate that. Patty says, hi, Chris from Voorhees. We got Voorhees in the house, hoping for nice rain, not craziness. Yeah, that would be nice, right? That would be nice. Pray for the best, prepare for the worst. Right, gotcha, Marianne. It's not quite how it came out the first time, but you knew what I meant. Ready for fall and football, that's what Donna said. Let me tell you something. If we're out here on like a football Sunday and we're dealing with this stuff, I'm going to be really upset. You know what I mean? So, but I've already got my spot set up here. I've got let me see if we can So I'm not on my cell, so I have to do it this way. But you can see I got my balcony set up. I'm going to put the TV out here. I've got it on like a, it's on like a thing with wheels, so I can wheel it out here. And I'm going to make myself comfortable on that couch, football Sunday, and I'm just going to watch. I get the package, the football package, so I get every game. I'm just going to watch football all day. And I hope I don't have to be out here talking about tornadoes and flash flooding. I want to watch the Eagles, right? And you know, but, you know, the way things are lining up right now, we might be talking about severe weather. Hi, Chris from Delco. How's Murphy? Patty is saying Murphy's doing better. You know, we got the inhaler, so I don't know if I told you guys the story. I went to the doctor again. We're getting ready to see a cardiologist soon, too. We're just kind of taking all precautions here. They gave me an inhaler for his bronchitis. And so we get to think about this, right? Trying to get this inhaler on the dog. So, you know, here's the dog. We put it right on his face. The very first time he went nuts. He freaked. So I said, all right, we've been doing it for like 3 or 4 days now. So I said, okay, the second time we did it, I said, here's what I'm going to do. Lori's going to be the one to put it right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Murphy, and I'm just going to talk to him. And so that's what I did. So I held him like this, and I got, here's his head. I got right next to him. I said, good boy. Good. I was talking to him gently, good boy. And so Lori placed it right on. He was perfect. He just sat there, didn't even fight it the whole time. And I'm just whispering, good boy. And now that's how he is. Now he does it. And he's so used to it now after 3 days that I don't even have to sit and hold him. He just sits there like this, right over top of him, and he lets us do it. So thankfully that has become a lot easier because the doctor warned me that, when you spray, it's an inhaler, when you spray him with the inhaler, probably only about 1 to 2% is actually going to get in because he's going to fight and he's going to move. Well, now he just sits there and he lets the whole thing get in. So hopefully more medicine gets in, the bronchitis goes away, and we can clear him from all the stuff, unfortunately, that he's been going through over the last few months. Yeah, poor Murphy Pants, but he's better. He's in good hands. These doctors are really, really good. The doctors at the Mount Laurel Animal Hospital, the doctors here at the Cross Keys Animal Hospital, they've been very concerned about him, and they've been very supportive, and they've been calling and asking. So good for them. Just give them a shout out. I think they've done a great job. Hopefully Murphy continues to improve. Kevin is saying, see Isle City in the house tomorrow. That's where you're going to be going. A beach day tomorrow. Well, the first part of the day is not bad. And actually, if you haven't already done so, go to my website, SourSkywatch.com. Every day I update the forecast. You'll see underneath the video block, which looks like the Weather Channel, you're going to see 3 areas. Today's big story, Delaware Valley, which also includes the Lehigh Valley, and the Jersey Shore. I update them every day. I just put the new forecast stuff out for tomorrow, and specifically for the Jersey Shore, the first part of the day actually looks pretty nice. It's sunshine mixed with clouds. Eventually, though, during the afternoon, you just saw the timing of those storms. You will get in on the act. Now, it's going to be later in the day, but you will get in on the act at some point later on. We got the Lois, we got the fish tank today. We got the fish. Do you guys want to see this tank? Do you guys want to see this tank? How do I do this, though? I'm not on my phone. I got to figure this out. I mean, I guess I could pick up the tank and bring it out here, but it's got everything. I bought a fish tank that has all the stuff in there, the filter, the net, the gravel, and everything. It's all in there. It was like a pre-packaged type deal. So everyone's saying, yes, we want to see it. Okay. I guess I'll carry it, or I can bring the computer in. Hopefully, that's what I'll do. I'll bring the computer in. Yeah, because I can't carry this out here. That's just too much. Everyone's like, yes, we want to see the fish tank. Okay. Hey, I'm doing it live. You want in on this? Are you sure you don't want in on this? Everybody wants to see you. You sure you don't want to just pop in real quick and say hi? All right. I'm gonna get you on here one time. That's our next door neighbor. She's like, no. Okay, yeah. Here, I'll show you guys right now. Oh, that's a great idea. Stay with me. Don't go anywhere, all right? That's a great idea. Melissa says, take a picture. I'm going to take a picture real quick. Stay right there. I'll be right back. Okay. All right, so I think this turned out pretty good. So we have, let me see if you guys can see it. See it right there? All right, so there's the fish tank. All right, and we got a ton of plants. You see the plants there in the bottom. And we're picking up a glare. Sorry about that, but you can go back. All right, so I think the first thing is called stability for the tank. And then there's something else. It's called stress coat. That'll get the water perfect for the fish because it's new water. And then if you look towards the left there, or I guess it's going to be your right, but you can see the plants there. You can see the plants there. And then the tank, it was like a pre-packaged tank. So it has everything that you would need to take care of the fish. The only thing I got to get right now is a stand to put it on. I didn't realize that. And it's a 20-gallon. We went with the 20-gallon tank only because it's just easier. You know what I mean? It's just easier to clean. It's easier to move. The last tank I had was like a 50-gallon tank, and guess what? You weren't moving it anywhere. It was heavy. And I would have to take all this water out. You know, I would take, like if the tank was this big, you know, you got to take a third of the water out just to clean. And it was just such a pain because it was such a big tank. And so I figured, you know what? This is just a fun tank for me and Paige. We're not going to get those real nice tropical $30 fish. We're just going to get the hardy fish like the platies and the swordtails and the neon tetras and the tiger barbs, you know, things like that, grammies, that cost like $2 instead of the ones that cost 20 or 30. And so, you know, we're gonna kind of do this a little bit differently than we did at my house in Williamstown. What kind of fish? That's what we're thinking. We're thinking platies and swordtails and grammies and neon tetras. I love the neons. They're about that big, but they're rainbow. They've got blue, they've got red. They're really, really pretty fish. What else do I want to get? There was I'm gonna have to get the algae eater and some snails, right? Because they'll climb the tank and they'll eat all the stuff that attaches to the tank. I was thinking about a tricolor shark, but the tricolor sharks get big, and after a while, a 20-gallon tank. If I do a tricolor, it would be I always try to pair the fish up, or in other words, like if I get a swordtail, I'm not just going to get one. I might get two or three. And so I don't ever try to get one of a kind. I always try to give them a partner and a friend. You know what I mean? Everybody needs a friend. So if I buy a tricolor, I'm going to get at least two. And the tricolors are going to get 4 or 5 inches long. And so I got to be careful. I don't want to get fish that are going to get too big, or because a 20-gallon tank is a 20-gallon tank. So in a 4 or 5 inch fish, you can't do too many of them, and then it becomes crammed in there for those guys. So Dina says I had a 45-gallon tank. I had 10-inch silver black-tailed sharks. So I did see some sharks. I saw. They're the ones that are silver, but they have like the black fins, right? Are those the one that you're talking about? Those are really neat because I used to have those. And Susie says it'll eat the neons. That's not what I wanted to hear because I like the neons. Mary says, what isn't what the Weather Channel says, Mary? Please tell me what you're talking about. I can't comment if I don't know. What is the Weather Channel saying? I don't know. Angelfish. Donna says angelfish. Ellen says angelfish and catfish to clean the tank. Okay, Dina says, yes, they were small when I got them. Okay, and they grew quick, right? Yeah. All right, if people are tuning in a little late here, we've got a tornado threat for tomorrow, a severe thunderstorm threat for tomorrow, and a flash flood threat for tomorrow. So, we've got the trifecta, right? The tornado threat is for that area right there in front of you, that area in green. Okay. Denise says, miss seeing you on Channel 6 watching. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. So that shade of green, that includes Trenton, Philadelphia, Wilmington, Toms River, Atlantic City, Cape May, Dover, actually all of Delaware. And for the southeastern Pennsylvania suburbs, it's the I-95 corridor, Conshohocken, Phoenixville, Norristown, Lansdale, Pottstown, Boyertown, Chester County, Delco. Let's go Lancaster South. It also includes Baltimore and D.C. That's your bullseye right there. It is small. So that's why I was saying, if you're just now tuning in, what I was trying to explain is right now the bullseye is right over Philadelphia. If this thing shifts 50 to 75 miles in either direction, then this is all going to shift, all right? So, maybe tomorrow morning at 7:30 when I'm doing the morning segment, maybe it looks better. Maybe it looks worse. I don't know. But, it is a small area, and it's very, very difficult to try and peg down a small area like that. So I would expect to wake up tomorrow, look at the new data, and see changes. How dramatic the changes are, who knows? But I would expect changes just simply because of how small the area is. When you start talking winter storms are so massive, they would take up that whole image there. So even if the storm were to shift, you're getting something. It's hard to miss. You know what I mean? How about the bird seed? We didn't get the bird seed, but I just filled up the bird feeder. So maybe that's what Paige and I'll do tomorrow before it starts storming. Caroline says, I might have to bring my hanging plants in off my porch. I would. If it's not too much trouble, I would. All right, I don't know what town you're in, but, if you're in the Lehigh Valley, Berks County, most of Bucks County, well, upper Bucks County, you might be okay. You might not have to do that. But if you're in lower Bucks County, lower Montgomery County, Delco, Chester County, the southern part of Lancaster County, and almost all of South Jersey, then that's something that might be a good idea. What's the timing? Let's go 2 to 10 from west to east. All right, so 2 o'clock, far western counties likely starting to get hit. 10 o'clock is when it should be exiting the coast. Remember, whenever you hear a range like that, it doesn't mean that Reading is expected to get storms between 2 and 10. That whole time. It means that the far western counties 2, and then everything moves from west to east. The Jersey Shore 10. It's going to keep moving like that. Now there are times where you're going to hear me say multiple rounds of downpours and thunderstorms from midday through 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon. If I say something like that, then you could be getting storm after storm after storm all afternoon. But that doesn't appear to be the case here. There could be a couple of rounds, but I'm talking about, like, for example, the Lehigh Valley and Philadelphia may see a couple of rounds of storms, but I'm talking about the big round of severe weather. There's probably only going to be one round of that, and that'll move through from west to east across the area. Tom says, are we looking at 3 to 6 inches of rain? Right now, the National Weather Service, and I like their call. I agree with it. They're going a general 1 to 2 with isolated heavier amounts of 3 to 5. I like the call. I think that makes perfect sense with the PWATs that I'm seeing, the Cape values and all the other severe weather parameters. I think that looks good. I think 1 to 2, isolated 3 to 5. I think that's a good call. Caroline says, I'm missing the Phillies game. Honestly, who are we playing? The Marlins? I can't get up for the game like that. There's a couple teams, just like I couldn't when they were playing. Who were they just beating up on? The Minnesota Twins. They stink. And for whatever reason, they keep beating Atlanta, I guess, which is good for us. I can't figure that out. But I can't. When they play these terrible teams, and it's the same thing in football, when the Eagles play the team that has 2 wins, it's hard to even watch the game, right? Because you already know the outcome. It is, yes, Melissa, it is a low tornado threat. Yes, it is a low. But the significant tornado parameters are very high, okay? And I showed everybody earlier what the significant tornado parameters were doing, okay? Let's see. Michelle says, 3 to 1 fills. Good. Tetras, I like Tetras. Bill, see, all right, Bill, I'm gonna have to call you out, Bill, okay? You're sitting here saying, don't be like others, no hype, please. What am I hyping? Please tell me what I'm hyping. I am giving you the forecast from a government agency, the National Weather Service and the Storm Prediction Center. I'm basically taking their information and relaying it to you so you get prepared for what could potentially happen tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. Please tell me how I'm hyping it up. Because basically on this platform, what I'm trying to do is be here for you guys 24/7, keep you safe in severe weather events, and get you ready for whatever Mother Nature's going to throw your way. So please help me understand how I'm hyping things for you, because I don't understand how I'm hyping it. I'm basically taking the forecast from the Storm Prediction Center and telling you about it and telling you get ready. How's that hyping it up? I don't understand. All right? And, I just don't understand. Would you rather have a huge thunderstorm with damaging winds and a tornado hit your neighborhood and not be aware of it at all? I come on, what are we talking about here? And that's another thing, too. Marianne just said it perfectly. If you don't like the message, I love that you're on here. I want you to stay, but if you scroll past, just keep going. If you don't like what I'm saying, I certainly don't want to upset you, and I want you to stay. But if you don't like what I'm saying, you're free to, to move on and find another forecast. I honestly think I've explained this pretty well. Okay, and I'm just gonna move on from that right now. Brenda says, thank you, Chris. Mike says, Chris, please talk about... Oh, man, there's so many comments coming in. I just lost that comment. Sorry. I'm sorry, I don't see it. Let's see. John says, haters will always be hating, Chris. I think you do a great job. Thank you. Marianne says, yes, no negativity in the dungeon. Exactly. Okay. All right, so, I think we've got it out there, Tomorrow morning, I'm going to be live again, all right, 7:30 in the morning, and we'll see what the new update that comes in when everyone's sound asleep shows. And, hopefully, again, what I'm most concerned about right now when it comes to the tornado threat is this, right? Hold on, I'll get to it. Right there. You see that? That's what worries me. You guys don't hear me say I'm worried very often, right? That's what worries me right there. You don't see that very often here. That's a significant tornado parameter. It's on a scale of 1 to 10, all right? Usually you can get spin-up tornadoes with just a 1 or 1.5, let's say 1 to 2 in this part of the country. Those numbers are over 6 in that pink. Okay? So basically what that is telling you is if the atmosphere lives up to its full potential, and there's no guarantees. I mean, this is weather. There's never a guarantee in any of this, right? But if the atmosphere lives up to its full potential tomorrow, there's going to be spin. There's going to be rotation. All right? And we'll have to watch the radar closely. Okay, so remember, it's about 8:10 right now. Remember, the radar. I've got radar streaming live. It's not right now. It will. The second I end this, I'll put it up there streaming again. The radar is going to stream on my YouTube channel 24/7 at Chris Sowers Weather. Okay? So when you go to YouTube, put in at Chris Sowers Weather in the search thing, and my name and my page, it'll all pop right up. Okay? So once you get on my page, there's a little toolbar there. Click on live. Once you click on live, you will see where the radar is. Click it and you'll get full 24/7 coverage. I usually put it in 5-panel mode, which not only has reflectivity, but it also has velocity. It also has rain totals. It also has the correlation coefficient to help track whether or not there's a tornado on the ground. It's got all these different parameters that you can actually look at all at the same time. Okay. Also, SowersSkywatch.com, my website. I've already updated all the forecasts, okay, for tomorrow on that page. And I'll update again. I'll probably have a new update around 5:30 in the morning, all right? And then, of course, I'll be live again on all of these platforms at 7:30 in the morning, and we'll see what the new data shows, okay? Right now, I would say just gear up for what could be a busy day on the radar tomorrow. And stay with me tomorrow morning, and we'll take another look at this stuff, and we'll see what's going on. Okay? All right, you guys take care. Have a good night. Watch the Phillies get another victory, and I'll see you tomorrow morning. All right? Good night, everybody.